The Red Ripper sounds like it should be some villain from the MCU, but you'll learn in today's episode that Andrei Chikatilo wasn't a fictional character and his crimes were not a plot in a blockbuster film. Okay, let's go. Today's episode is actually a special request from one Emma. You know who you are. I won't put all your details out there. This is a request that came from her because she is a sucker for punishment, and I think there's something wrong in her head.
Thank you so much.
He was born, Andrei Romanovich Chikatilo, on October 16, 1936, in Yabluchny Sumshchina in the Ukraine. Like most of us, he had parents, and that was Roman and Anna Chikatilo.
Oh.
I also don't know how to pronounce his surname, so it's Chikatilo is going to be the thing. Most people are like Chikatilo. Chikatilo, tell me what's wrong.
My pronunciation, Chikatilo.
Chikatilo. History lesson. So in 1932, Stalin would introduce this little thing called the Soviet agricultural collectivization. And basically what that meant was that mostly the Ukraine, specifically the Ukraine, all farmers would have to hand over their land to the state to help produce food. The problem was they also had to work said land for free for the state to produce food to give to the state. And what this did was it caused a massive famine.
Yeah.
And millions of Ukrainians died because they couldn't eat. No deal. Niet.
Neat.
And to make things kind of worse, they wouldn't be paid for this stuff either. So they had no income coming in. They were working to provide for the state. It was kind of just an absolutely terrible cycle. But Stalin wasn't mean. He would give them a small parcel of their own land behind like a shack that they could grow their own crop from. But if you are spending all of your time sowing seeds for your country,
Yeah.
quotation marks, and you're not earning money, then you don't have the time or the funds to like invest in your own meager crops.
Yeah.
Hence why you'd probably be going hungry. Because can you imagine what would happen if they stole grain that was meant for the state?
Yeah. But wouldn't you want to make sure your workers could work?
I don't think he cared.
Yeah.
I don't think he cared.
That's a bit
Millions
shit.
dying. Of course he
Yeah.
didn't care. And you might be thinking, okay, well, it's weird that you start with famine. But I only mention it because these were the conditions that Andrei was living in. That's what he grew up in. He grew up in famine times. So like money was tight. Food was even tighter. Rumor has it that they were even eating grass and leaves just so that there was food in their bellies.
Oh, I don't like that.
Isn't that wild? Even wilder. Do you know that his mum, was her name Anna? Anna.
Did you know?
I have it right here and I don't even know. Even wilder, you know his mum, Anna?
Yeah.
I'm going to say Anna because it sounds more,
Yeah, I like it.
it's cunty. I love it.
Anna.
Anna. My name is Anna.
I'm Anna.
I'm Anna Chikatilo. Da.
Niet.
Ukraine. I don't know. His mum, Anna, told him that once upon a time he actually had an older brother, Stepan. Stepan. Stepan.
Stepan?
Stepan.
Oh, yeah. What happened to Stepan?
Well, rumor has it that the neighbors kidnapped him and ate him because they were starving.
I thought there was going to be a bit of cannibalism there.
There's no proof that this happened because there's no documentation to like back it up.
Yeah.
But also, the kind of scary thing is, like, if you look at the time from when he was born, like when the famine started to when he was born, there was 4 years in between those dates. So it's very possible that a brother could have existed.
Yeah.
Stepan may have actually been eaten.
Oh, Stepan. Oh, my God.
That wasn't for that. It wasn't for that.
It wasn't for that.
It wasn't. Now, in 1941, you know Roman, his papa, he would be conscripted for 4 years into the Red Army. I swear to God, this sounds like a fucking film, but it's not. And this would be for the sequel to World War I, also known as World War II. And he would end up becoming a POW after getting wounded. Oh, you're going to fucking ask me what a POW is again.
No, I know what it is. Prisoner of war.
Oh, thank God. Shock. Your eyes just went, and I went, oh, fuck me.
No, my eyes were going, are you sure this is in a movie? It sounds like a movie.
I'm in the Red Army.
And then I become prisoner of war.
Oh, I lost my leg. I don't know what that accent was.
No, that was the face of like, this is sounding like a movie.
I joined the Red Army for World War II.
I kill everybody.
I kill. Now, I'm not sure if you knew, but the Nazis occupied the Ukraine. And they basically brought war to their front door. Ooh, war door.
The Nazis did a lot of things that they shouldn't have done.
So Andrei would witness like a ton of shit, like obviously fires and bombings and murders and gunshots and you name it. He would kind of see all of it. And him and his mum would even have to hide in ditches every now and then just not to be seen by the Nazis. And there was one time that they had to like watch their hut get burnt to the ground. Why? I don't know, but it did. And like, I hate these people, but imagine having nothing.
Yeah.
And then having that nothing taken away from you.
To turn into nothing again.
Or to less than nothing.
Sounds like a fuck time.
Yeah, it's not great. They would end up finding a place to stay together, and it would just be those two. And Andrei would have to share a bed with his mum, but there was a problem with that. He was like a chronic bedwetter, so he kept pissing the bed. And every time he did, she'd beat him for it because, like, you don't want, like, you probably only have one set of sheets, maybe if that. And then your son keeps soiling them, but there's only one bed, so he has to sleep in the bed. So I understand how it would be a bit frustrating, but I don't think I would beat my kid for something he clearly cannot control.
Given the trauma he is surrounded by.
Strangely, in 1943, do you know that Anna would welcome a daughter that she would name Tatiana? And now, I don't know if you recall the term of Roman's conscription being like 4 years long.
Yeah, I was just doing the maths, quick maths in my head.
1 + 1 is 2. Quick math.
But the sperm stays there for a while before it activates in the egg. So it's like just kind of row.
Yeah. So if y'all are capable of basic maths, then you would have calculated that the probability of Roman being the dad was kind of impossible. But don't worry, you specifically. I'm not about to incest you.
Good.
Apparently, something the Nazis also enjoyed doing was raping and pillaging. So, story is that, and I don't even know how much of it's true or if there's like a different story about it, but apparently what may have happened is a Nazi came in and raped his mum in front of him. She got pregnant, kept the baby. Tatiana.
Came in all right.
Fuck me. You can't... I know that was not my fault. That was you.
No, I know. It was fine how you said it. Just my brain. Part of me is also like punched her in the gut.
Fuck me.
Dick.
You need a shower, a cold shower. Again, in saying that, it is just suggested. I'm not sure what documentation exists to prove that as a fact. But what I can confirm is that Andrei was only 7 at the time. So it's unlikely that he would have been able to sire his own son. However... You can't rule out a cheeky shag with a neighbour.
Yeah.
You're probably lonely, you're a parent, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Or who has to say that said rape was a rape? Maybe she saw that Aryan specimen and sat on him.
Never know, do you, darling?
The following year, in 1944, because that's what the following year would be, Andrei would start schooling. He got teased a lot at school, mostly because of his stature, because he was like really skinny but with one of those like swollen famine tummies. And on top of that, his clothing was entirely made from home materials. Like she was making it out of fabric and stuff she had in the house, like sheets and linen and whatever. So it would have been a hodgepodge of stuff, though I kind of low-key want to see what that would have looked like, because it could have been kind of creative. Okay, it may not have been Valentino, but
Poor little tyke.
maybe.
Maybe not.
Now, apparently, according to Tatiana, Anna was, and I quote, a fucking white dog.
What?
No, she didn't say that. But what she did say is that Anna was a real bitch.
Oh.
Although her dad was really nice. She said he was a very kind man.
Wait, what? Who's dad? Anna's dad?
Yeah, she still called him her dad.
Was a kind man.
Roman. She's saying Roman
Oh,
is
sorry.
a kind man.
I didn't think he was back from the war yet.
Well, this is something she would say later in life.
Sorry, yes.
As like an adult, not as like a 1-year-old. Like, he's a kind man.
Yeah. Bitch, he can't talk yet.
So Andrei was like very aware of his surroundings, of his upbringing, of what he didn't have. So he hated himself. But that would get worse when he would like start going through puberty. I mean, we all kind of hate ourselves when we're going through puberty, right?
Hate the world, hate life, hate everything.
Hate the world. And we especially hate the fact that we have erectile dysfunction.
Yes? Question mark?
Well, we don't, but he did.
Oh.
Quite serious erectile dysfunction, actually. When he was 15, there was one occasion where he apparently jumped on a young girl. Jumped on her. I don't know what his intention was. I think they were wrestling, just play fighting and stuff.
Yeah.
And a little creep jizzed his pants.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and that happened when she was struggling to break free from his grasp.
Oh, no. That's bad.
It sure is. After he graduated, he applied for a scholarship at Moscow State University, and he was accepted. So he was a bright-ish man.
Yeah. Well, to get accepted, sure.
Yeah, until he was rejected. And he thought that this was like a targeted thing because his dad was now an enemy of the state because he was a traitor, because he got caught as a prisoner of war. So he's automatically a bad man. So now it's like intentional. But the truth is, Moscow University or whatever it was called were like, oh, well, I mean, yeah, you passed, but there were like a lot more, as in every single other student who applied scored better in the entry exam than you did. So, but we're not accepting your entry. No scholarship for you.
That's how Hitler started.
No, he hated Jews.
No, because he didn't get
I
into
know.
paint school.
I know, because he was an artist. That's all he was doing.
Oh, God. Here we go.
This man doesn't become a dictator. It's okay.
Doesn't he?
Like a
Dictator?
pedophile and a cannibal and stuff, sure, but dictator? No, he's not that bad.
No. Oh, you.
Stop. Oh, cute. So now it's 1955 and he would put a pin in his academic career because that was just a big blow to his self-confidence. He's like, well, fuck that. Again, he is still thinking that he was discriminated against because his dad is a traitor. He wasn't a traitor. He would end up moving to Kursk. And he worked for 3 months as a labourer before he enrolled in a vocational school to become a communications technician. But Zoe, what's a vocational school? Well, pumpkin tits. To put it simply, it's a school that teaches you a trade or a skilled craft. Oh. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Vocational school.
Yeah.
It sounds pretentious, but it is Russia. So we're still in like 1955 at this point, and Andrei would enter into his first serious relationship with a girl.
How old is he?
I don't look.
Yeah. Sorry,
I just know it's 1955.
Yeah, that's when was he born? 1930. Yeah, so like early 20s.
Yeah. Do you know what really is scandalous? They would attempt the sex 3 times. Yeah.
What the fuck?
I know. Well, no fuck. No fuck at all.
Oh. You not get the wood in the hole. That wasn't even, what is that? That's not even.
Whatever it was, I enjoyed it.
So they attempted 3 times.
Yeah. But just like me trying to stick to a diet, he couldn't keep it up. Ayo!
Oh.
Well, what? That's what I need to fucking put there. That joke
Crickets.
tanked.
No.
Jesus Christ.
No, because I was thinking about his pain. That's why because I was like, so he was ejaculating on women like that,
No,
but then he couldn't get it.
ejaculated in his pants, not on a woman.
Yeah, but then couldn't get it up. That's where, sorry. It
Because
wasn't your
of his
joke.
erectile dysfunction.
Yeah, it wasn't your joke that tanked.
Still don't hear you laughing at it. So, no sexy time for this couple. And she would leave his soft ass after 18 months. She was like,
18 months, still a good time to hang around, girl.
Well, okay. So, I'm just going to like go on like a brief journeyette. Just a brief journeyette. That just means like a little journey. Just a journeyto. I understand how selfish I am. But if I were a lady and I was in that situation, then I would still want to get mine.
Yeah.
I want to get mine. Yeah, I get that you can't keep it up and you have a medical condition. Cool. You still got fingers, my guy. You still got a mouth. Get me off.
He might have. I mean, if she hung around for 18 months, he must have been doing something. Or she was doing something.
To herself.
Or to someone else.
On the side.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, that
That's
could
a
be
long
where she went
time
off.
to go a year with nothing.
I wasn't there. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can do all of that alone. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to be like left untouched right now.
Yeah. What I
when
need
I'm
you
with
for.
someone.
Yeah. Hello.
Fucking hell. Anyway, now we're in 1957 and he has completed his training at the vocational school and he moved, but this time it was to the Urals in Nizhny Hill.
To the where?
Urals in Nizhny Hill. Urals. Oodles and noodles of noodles.
Oh, no.
Norwegian.
Yeah.
Norway.
Yeah.
I'm from Norway.
Yeah.
Norway?
Yeah.
Yeah, that we.
Oodles of noodles.
Oh, I put my finger in a dike. In the water? No.
In the water, no.
In the water, no. Now we're in 1957 and he completed his vocational training, so he decided that he was going to travel. But this time it was to the Urals in Nation Hill. And he actually traveled there by car, which is 29 hours northeast of Kursk.
Fuck that.
That's entirely too long. That also showed me just how fucking big Russia is.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. The Soviet Union.
That's real big.
Real big.
That's a big ass drive. Especially back then. Like, shit.
Oh, yeah. It's too much. He would end up having to take part in the National Service, which he did for a few years before he secured a job as a communications engineer, putting his vocational training to work. Which is good. And he ended up relocating to Rodionovo-Nezvedayevsky in the Russian Soviet Federative Socialist Republic in 1961. He would end up renting out like a small little apartment there, close to his new job. And apparently he even saved up enough money to relocate. Am I from South Africa?
Yeah.
So apparently he actually saved up enough money to relocate his parents. And once his sister graduated, Tatiana, he would pay for her to move in with him. There are different reports that I was able to find. Some where he was able to pay for them to move near him. Some where he paid for them to move in with him. But it doesn't say how big the property or anything was. So I don't know if they actually lived together. But I do know that Tatiana lived with him.
Must be getting good money though, like to be able to do that.
Or the housing was affordable.
Yeah, because that's pretty big to be able to like bring your whole family over.
That's a bit of a flex, I think.
Yeah.
I kind of stand that.
Yeah.
Like I kind of stand taking care of your parents, even if they're assholes.
Yeah.
Like there's something special in that. That's the nicest thing he will ever do.
Oh, no.
And after living with him for just a short amount of time, Tatiana kind of took pity on him because she was like, "Oh, you're sad. You're a sad, lonely, sad man." So she was like, "I'm going to find you a girlfriend." And she did. And again, this is where information kind of splits, and I have a couple of different names, but apparently it's the same person. So it's either Faina or Feodosia Otnacheva. So I'm kind of like...
Maybe a nickname or shortened?
Faina, Feodosia. I mean, maybe. But I'm just going to go with like wife.
Yeah.
She would become his wife in 1963, and get this. While he couldn't stay hard, right, because we've spoken about his issues, he still figured out a way to have 2 children with her. So he would have a daughter in 1965 named Ludmila, and a son in 1969, wink, named Yuri. But Joey, how did they do it? This is gross. They used a technique that I like to call ye old spoof and splat.
Open wide! Come back! Like literally to splat. Fucking hell.
Sorry.
See, in my head I was going for the scooping, but not the fucking splat. Go, babe, go. Quick, open wide.
So gross.
Oh, fuck me.
Okay, so that's not really how they did it, but but the imagery, the physical imagery that I'm getting right now is it's really golden.
Spoof and splat.
Yeah, the odd spoof and splat.
I don't want to ruin anything. Are we sure it's his? Or are you going to say that? Sorry.
Well, the real thing that happened, I'm going to try to put this in a way that maybe even kids could listen to if they really wanted to.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get like in trouble and they're going to ask questions later.
Mummy, what's a spoof and splat?
Well, honey, that's what you're...
When Daddy couldn't get it up, he spoofed and then he split it.
And he split it. See, we can laugh at this kind of stuff because we can't laugh later. So it's like, this is good. This is fine. I'm okay. Yeah, this is fun.
Sorry, spoof and splat. I can't.
Sorry, yeah. It's not my fault. I'm good at naming things.
Okay.
So let's look at like a military, all right?
Yeah.
So she would get him to deploy the soldiers,
Yeah.
right? And let's consider them to be on the front line of defense.
Yeah.
She would then direct them into the cave of forbidden wonders with his fingers.
Oh, I like the hand movements that I'm not looking at. But you gotta get that in there. So
Listen.
the little swimmers get all the way up in there.
He was not a man that was scared of getting his hands dirty, let's just say that.
Oh.
But yeah, that's how it worked. And they got pregnant twice. The funny thing is, later on in life, he would actually say that, yeah, he found his wife attractive, but that she was kind of forced upon him by his sister. They got married 2 weeks after they met.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. He was like, it was orchestrated by my sister, I'm not happy. He would end up changing careers, becoming a teacher, because that's great. Because this is also where his first known depraved activities kind of began.
Go on.
All right, picture this. It was May of 1973, and it must have been like during some like physical education or something, because they're all in a pool, in a swimming pool. And he decided that he was going to like swim up to one of the girls. Yeah. And then he grabbed her upstairs and downstairs. That's what I'm saying instead of like breasts and... So he grabbed her upstairs and downstairs, and he ejaculated in the pool when she was trying to get him away from her.
As a teacher?
As a teacher.
To your students?
To the student. This particular student. Yeah. She was 15, by the way. I didn't give her age earlier. But it doesn't really matter. It's wrong. It's a child anyway, regardless. And a few months later, he locked another student in a classroom with him and like sexually assaulted them and beat them. Yeah. And I'm not sure how. Honestly, this man must have been some kind of a Houdini as far as like rules and consequences were concerned, because he didn't get in trouble for either attack. Nor would he get in trouble when he got caught fondling himself in front of students, when teachers even saw it.
Okay.
And in a move to make you say, what the fuck? He was also given the duty, nay, responsibility, of being in charge of the girls who boarded at the school. So his job was to make sure that they were in bed every night in their dorms. And he would often like walk in unannounced in hopes to see them naked.
No. It's like one little detail you left out in this case. It's around fucking children.
No, I mentioned that earlier. I said pedophile.
Yeah, okay, you did.
Sorry, speaking of children, by the mid-1970s, his desire to actually see kids in the nutty, like, peaked. So he would try to get into situations where he could see them. He would often travel around to different, like, public bathrooms and toilets and try to spy on girls. But he would, like, drive around for hours just to find different places where he could do it. He also would buy, it's kind of the old, get in my van, I've got candy.
Yeah.
But he would buy chewing gum, specifically chewing gum. And he would try to offer that to befriend girls before like doing stuff. On 3 occasions, unfortunately, the poor innocent little girls fell for it, and then he sexually assaulted them. I'm sure there would have been more, but these are the ones that were reported and kind of came out about it. And eventually he would be requested to attend a meeting with the school director, because a stack of complaints were coming in about him, like being lewd and inappropriate with and to students. So to avoid anything going on the record in any kind of meaningful way, they offered him the option of resigning or being fired. And he obviously went with option A. He's like, well, I mean, if I could just leave and there's nothing on the record, done. He would get a new job as a teacher in Novoshatinsk, being let go in January of 1978 due to cutbacks. They just didn't have money to pay him, and they were like, get out. But unfortunately, December 22nd that same year, he would actually claim his first ever victim. And that, unfortunately, would be Yelena Zakonova, and she was 9. And she was tricked into coming with him to a dilapidated hut that he had purchased in secret. His wife didn't know about it.
Oh, no.
Didn't know about it at all, but he had a new home. So he tried to rape her, but he obviously has erectile dysfunction, so he couldn't get an erection. So he stabbed her 3 times in the stomach, and he ejaculated as he dove his knife into her. So it was just, yeah, it's not cool. Her body would be found under a bridge overlooking the Grashevka River about 2 days later. Obviously, he had to find a new job, and he did, as a teacher again, this time at Technical School 33. I don't know.
What are we going to name the school? I don't know. Technical School 33.
Yeah, it comes up there, Technical School 32.
32.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I don't even know. This time it's in Shakti, so he's moved again. And this was like a coal mining town, and it was over 75 kilometers north, or like 47 miles for our listeners out there who still use the imperial system.
Question.
See?
He's moving his family each time? Or is he moving just, you know what I mean? Like,
I believe that every time he has to move for a job, his family are in tow.
why are we going here? Better option.
No reason.
Yeah. Nothing to see. Let's go this way.
They have the best borscht.
Yeah, okay.
I love goulash.
Okay.
I mean, also, to be fair, though, it doesn't actually mention that the family are all uprooted, but
If it's that far away.
I can't imagine that unless he was traveling, because he would be staying there. The idea is to get a job and live there, right?
Yeah.
So I would assume that they would come with him. I don't know what his wife did for work. So the only thing that I could really put my mind to, or I could really come to a conclusion of, was he's traveling very vast distances between locations when it comes to work. So I feel like he's trying to like evade his own rap sheet, maybe not rouse suspicion, or at technical school 33. This would kind of be where his career as a teacher would end, because in 1981, more complaints of lewd and sexual misconduct were coming forward, but this time it was from both boys and girls.
Oh.
So now he's kind of diversified a little bit within his own personal tastes.
I was actually going to ask that earlier. Mike, was it just girls? So obviously it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was at the beginning. He only sexually assaulted them in the last couple of jobs he had. It was this one that he moved on to boys as well.
Yeah.
And part of me thinks that it was maybe just a opportunistic sort of thing. It's like, well, he probably found himself in the presence of boys more often than girls.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not me explaining or excusing what he did, but he is a sick man.
Yeah, probably got to a, doesn't matter the sex, just
I want to get off.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's someone struggling against his advances, and that's what gets him off. And that's concerning.
Yeah.
To say the least. That same month, he would get a new job, but this time it was as a supply clerk at a factory producing construction metal. And this job, however, meant that he would travel a lot, all across the Soviet Union to negotiate contracts and to fulfill production quotas. You know, there's nothing worse than like a traveling murderer.
Yeah, traveling pedophile murderer.
All of the above.
Oh, no.
So by September, remembering we're still in 1981, he would stumble across Larissa Kachenko at a bus stop as he left a public library. And I'm not sure if this was dumb luck or if it was planned, but either way, he offered her vodka and like a chill out sesh. Like vodka. Typical.
It's the fucking most Russian thing. You want some vodka?
You want vodka?
Yeah.
You want to hang out?
Let's go.
Let's go.
Okay, let's go.
And she did.
Oh no.
She somehow bought into it, and they went off into like the woods, because that also sounds like a great idea, to go and hang out near like a river or a lake or something, just to hang and just chill.
Well, if she's young, drinking,
17.
you'd wanna...
The allure of it might actually be kind of exciting.
Yeah, like, cool, let's go drink.
And
yeah.
your first thought probably isn't going to be, oh, I'm about to,
Yeah.
something bad's about to happen. You
Yeah.
probably wouldn't think that at the time. Anyway, he would only wait until they got to like a clearing. Why it was a clearing, I don't know. I'm actually not too sure. But he would throw her down to the ground and rip off her clothes. And he tried to rape her, much like his first victim. And she like fought against him. I don't think he came at this particular time, but obviously the rape failed because, shocker, he couldn't get an erection. Please hold on to your butt. He then shoved mud inside her mouth to muffle her screams, because she was screaming at this point. He didn't want to bring much more attention. So he's literally scooping handfuls of mud and shoving it into her mouth. But this is the part that kind of makes me think that it wasn't planned, because normally he had a knife on him, but he didn't this time. So he strangled her and beat her unconscious, I believe, or to death. She ends up dying. But because he didn't have his knife, he decided to mutilate her body with his teeth. He also grabbed a 6-foot-long stick, mutilated her with that as well. At one point, he even tore off her nipple with his teeth.
You shut your mouth. You shut it. That's so fucked up. Fuck me.
I said hold on to your butt.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
That's like next level.
Well, I mean, it was bad.
It was already...
But it was like... Nyeh.
Yeah, like you're ripping off body parts with your teeth. Fuck.
Yeah, it's crazy. He would cover her body, but only very loosely with bits of debris, like leaves and some newspaper and stuff. She was found the next day. On the 12th of June in 1982, Andrei would find himself in the Begovievsky district to buy vegetables, and because of the travel, he had to get off the bus to catch another bus, but he decided that he would enjoy the rest by foot. Why? Who knows? I do know. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was like, he go hunting.
So on this travel, he bumped into a 13-year-old girl who was like on her way home from shopping and stuff. And he like befriended her. I am using air quotes for those of y'all who cannot see. Not because you're blind. That's just going, okay. I'm using air quotes for those of you listening, and decided that he was going to walk a ways with her, for company's sake. So walking until they get to a spot where he notices that no one can see what they're doing at this point. They can't see them. So he grabs her and throws her into the bush, and he tore off her clothes, and he simulated the act of sex, because obviously we know at this point his pecker isn't working.
Yeah.
So he pretended to have sex with her, and while he was doing that, he would slash and stab at her body, because that was kind of it was just his thing. It doesn't make sense. Anyway, it would be 15 days before she would be found. You'd never send your kids out ever again. I could never. I don't know what I could do. Anyway, upon medical examination, they were able to find 22 stab wounds from the knife, and these were around her head, her neck, her chest, and her pelvic region. They also said that it appeared that she had been attacked from behind with the handle and the blade of the knife, and they also said that they found striations in her eye socket.
You shut your mouth.
To podcast, if I did that, it might be a problem.
Was it Emma that did this one?
Yeah.
I don't like you, Emma.
Now, if you can believe it, up until this point, he claims that he had kept a lid on his urges. This is what he said.
Yeah.
I kept a lid on my urges.
That's so good. Good on you.
Good on you. But after he met Lyubov, he decided that he couldn't resist anymore. And if that was him keeping a lid on his fucking urges, this is what, 3 people now?
What the fuck? Like, he was actually being serious.
Yeah.
What?
I do good. I resist.
You bit the nipple off someone, sir.
Now, I said this to you like a little bit earlier, but Andrei had so many victims that I'm not able to go through like full names and genders and dates and that kind of stuff. But what we will do is post something on our social media channels so that you will be able to see that. So please don't forget to check those out. And if you haven't already, please follow us on all platforms. Thanks. So you would have heard me go through about 3 murders before, but that's really just to highlight kind of what he does. It's like there's a plan, but then there's also not a plan. It's like sometimes he has thought about it, and other times as far as he gets is I'm going to do something today. Or he's very opportunistic or something along those lines. And I obviously don't want to not reference all the victims, so I found a way to simplify it for everyone by just going in order of first name only, which I will now do. By the end of it all, he would have been responsible for murdering Akmaral, 2 Alexanders, 3 Alexeys, Andrei, Anna, 2 Dimitris, Helena, Igor, 3 Irinas, 2 Ivans, 2 Larissas, Laura, Lena, 3 Lyubovs, 2 Ludmilas, Marta, 3 Natalias, 2 Olegs, 2 Olgas, 2 Sergeys, 2 Svetlanas, 2 Tatyanas, 3 unknown victims, Vadim, Valentina, Vera, 2 Victors, Yaroslav, Yelena, Yovyevny, and Yuri. All of these murders were between December 1978 and November of 1990. 12 years.
That's fucked.
Quick math.
And that's the ones we know of.
Those are the ones we know of.
Like
there could have been more.
Yeah.
So if you were keeping tally on that, you would have noticed that there were 53 victims in total. And to spare our listeners, and specifically Ashley,
Thank you.
I will not go through all the murders in significant detail, at least not in a case-by-case structure. However, if you do wish to have some type of in-depth episode where we talk about that kind of stuff, we can do that. But also, I'm kind of trying to do this so the episode's a little more palatable for people, because I still want it to be enjoyable, but I don't want it to necessarily be just grotesque.
Yeah. But if you, dear listeners, want a bit of a deeper dive, let us know.
That is right. And to do so, you can let us know via our link tree, which you can find at linktree/one-time mysteries. And if you could specifically request this from Ashley, that would be fabulous.
No, what?
So because we're not going into like full depth with it, I thought that I would summarize kind of what he was about, like his characteristics as far as his crimes were concerned. And not only was he a known pedophile, but he also committed acts of cannibalism, necrophilia, evisceration, which is disembowelment, and mutilation. Now, strangely, when it came to children, gender didn't matter. He didn't actually give a fuck if it was a boy or if it was a girl. If he had access to them, he would take the opportunity. Now, when it came to adults, he would exclusively focus on women, and usually prostitutes. Maybe it's because he thought he couldn't fight men off. Maybe he thought women might be an easier target. I don't know. Oh, and like almost entirely all of his male victims, so little boys, would get castrated. So you might be thinking, all these deaths, no police involvement yet. So let's get into that. Sloppy does not even begin to even broach the surface of these police and this investigation. Honestly, I genuinely, I cannot. So first, let's talk about the known murder that we're aware of. The first one of the 9-year-old girl. Someone else was accused of that murder and convicted for that murder. A man named Alexander Kravchenko, who was basically only accused because he had a criminal history where in the past he had been convicted of rape and murder of a teenage girl. But this one he obviously didn't actually do. And the worst part is that he had a solid alibi because he was hanging out with his wife, so that's one witness. But he was also hanging out with one of his wife's best friends at their house all evening. So there are 2 people who could spot him in this location. But as police do, they just want a way to close I just need to close the case, you're guilty. They don't want the paperwork.
50 plus
They
minutes.
literally don't want the paperwork. Anyway, Alexander would get sentenced to 9 years imprisonment, which was the maximum sentence at the time. Yeah, 9 years for murder.
For a life.
However, Yelena's family would end up kicking up such a stink that they got the judge to do a retrial. And during that retrial, he was sentenced to death by gunfire.
Oh.
And he died in July of 1983. But don't worry, after he died, I don't know when, he would receive a posthumous pardon.
Oh, that's nice.
Meaning like, oh, do you know what?
Oh, my bad.
He didn't do it. He was innocent.
Sorry.
Yeah. So in January of 1983, there had been 4 murders that they felt were possibly most likely committed by the same person. And I don't know why at this point, when they have Alexander in prison still, in January, they've found more murders that are fresher and have happened since he's been in prison. But they don't say, oh, it's not him. So it doesn't actually make sense to me.
Yeah.
Because they had that information for 6 months before he was shot.
Yeah, like wasn't even a...
They didn't even think, oh, wait a minute, we have men in prison.
Yeah.
Man,
Like,
don't do it. So I don't know. That's weird. So a team would be put together to spearhead the investigation, and it was led by Major Mikhail Fetisov and would eventually be known as Operation Forest Path. But don't worry, that was the name that they had inside the precinct and stuff. Operation Forest Path. Because we
Forest Path
find
too.
on Forest Path.
yeah, it's good.
Cool name.
Yeah.
Operation Borscht. In March, someone else would be assigned to that investigation, and this time it was actually a forensic analyst named Viktor Burkov. And a month later, they would find another body, this time of Olga. And Viktor reviewed the body and noticed that, well, a lot of these things are kind of matching the other victims. And when he noticed that, that's when they were like, oh, this is a serial killer. And he was obviously a forensic whatever.
Yeah.
So he was able to really take a look at what was happening and compare and contrast, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, he figured it was all done by the same person. Andrei wouldn't kill again until June of 1983, and by September he had killed another 5 victims. Damage inflicted on the bodies shared similarities, and the patterns of the wounds inflicted on the victims obviously showed that it was the same person yet again. Because of this, the Soviet authorities had to acknowledge that there was actually a serial killer running rampant, because they kept a little bit of a hat on that kind of thing for a minute.
Yeah.
And on the 6th of September, the Soviet unit's public prosecutor formally linked 6 of the murders and attributed the crimes to the same killer. So there's people internally that have done it, but now publicly they've decided to do it. So because of how intense the murders were and the precision of the disembowelment upon their bodies, the police theorized that these murders, get this part's not crazy, but this next part after that is, the police were like, okay, this person or group of people know what they're doing. They're obviously doing this to sell organs on the black market. And then you kind of think, oh, if you didn't know better, maybe. But they've never said anything about organs missing so far. So it's kind of like, well, what are they selling?
Yeah. Yeah, I was literally about to say there's no mention so far of organs missing.
That's right. But get this. They also thought that it could have been the work of a satanic cult. And then I think, okay, it's kind of fucked up shit that's happening. Satanic cults do get a bad rap. Some of them are bad. Others are fine. My favorite is that it must have been a mentally ill individual, specifically a homosexual.
Oh, not the gays.
Please, these gays, they're trying to murder me. Please, these gays, they're trying to murder me. Me capisce? Please, these gays, they're trying to murder me so they can decorate take their houses or some shit.
Specifically a homosexual / pedo. And now, okay, he was a pedo, but he wasn't gay.
If he was gay, it would be all men.
All
and
men.
all boys.
So naturally, they would search records of people who had spent time in asylums or prisons, keeping an eye out for anyone who had been convicted of homosexuality or pedophilia, because those two go hand in hand. Obviously.
Do they know the term gay? Does not like women.
Or girls.
Or girls.
Yeah, just men. Or, I mean, obviously, if it's like a gay pedophile, then he's interested in children, but it's like male.
Male.
They like the peewees.
Yeah.
Ugh, that makes me feel ill. Yeah. So these people were checked and logged in a card filing system. Yeah, they kept like a little card filing system. And then the ones that would show up in that system, they went and checked like alibis for all of them around the suspected dates of the murders and stuff. Don't worry, they did the same thing for like normal sex offenders too. And an alibi was also sought for them. But if the alibi was strong enough, they'll just remove them from the filing system altogether because they're not gay.
Those gays, I tell ya.
It's criminal. Apparently, a few men would come forward and claim to be the murderer. That's what they said. That's what the police said. But the truth is that the admissions of guilt were provided under extreme duress that the police put on them. And to make it even worse, the people that were coming forward after being like just harangued by the cops were like mentally disabled young men. So they wouldn't, I mean, that's just not fair. It's not fair and it's not right. It gets worse though, don't you worry, because there are also 3 gay men that legitimately did nothing. They didn't have a crime, criminal rap sheet, no nothing. And they were subjected to this entire comedy of errors, and the interrogations were so brutal that all 3 of these men would end up killing themselves because they couldn't handle what had just happened to them. The same would also happen to a sex offender, like a convicted sex offender. I don't really care about him, but like the other ones that were like legit innocent were guilty because of the gay. Don't worry. To save their pride, some good things happened. They did. No, listen, you'll like this part. So according to these clowns, more than 1,000 unrelated crimes, including 95 murders, 140 aggravated assaults, and 245 rapes were solved due to these investigations.
Oh, that is gold star. Amazing.
Gold star. Good job for like hurting all those people.
Fucking job.
Whether those figures are correct or not, you be the judge.
Bullshit.
I also agree with that. Now in the summer of 1984, Andrei was fired from his job as a supply clerk. Honestly, he just can't keep a good job down. This was actually for the theft of 2 rolls of linoleum. I don't know. Don't look at me like that. I don't know. I don't know. Like maybe he just wanted to do like some renos on his house.
Yeah.
On the cheap, on the DL.
Yeah.
And like his employer made the accusations and they filed it against him like the previous February, and he had been asked to resign quietly, but he refused to do so. He was like, honey, no me. I didn't steal no fucking linoleum.
How dare you?
How dare you? I'm a good man. Anyway, so he refused to do so and he denied the claim, but he ended up leaving and finding another job at a different place as a supply clerk by August 1st. So it sounds like he had, like, it was quite easy for him to find jobs. Like, this is not taking very long for him at all. On the 13th of September, he was seen by 2 undercover detectives attempting to talk to young women in Rostov at the bus station. And they followed him as he casually walked through the city trying to chat up women and get his frot on. You know what frotting is? Have you heard of frotting? Ooh, frottage.
Oh, frottage.
Oui.
No, I think I've heard the term, but I don't know what the term means.
Well, frotting is where a man, usually, will rub his genitals on somebody.
Oh.
So he would like try to walk past someone and intentionally rub himself on like their leg or their butt or their hand as they go past him.
I don't like that.
Frotting.
Yeah, I haven't heard that term.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of like trot on.
There is like a consensual form of frotting that like a couple can do where they will keep clothes on and just rub themselves against each other. This one was not that.
Yeah.
This was not that at all. No, ma'am. No, I don't think so. Anyway, he would continue doing this for like most of the day. And then when we got to the city's central market, he was detained by the cops. I don't know why they waited till then to do it. Maybe they just had a clearing and I don't know. Maybe it was just the perfect moment. Well, they decided to check his belongings. And he had a 20 centimeter knife with a 7.9 inch blade, several lengths of rope, and a jar of Vaseline. as you do. Light it up. Typical Monday morning for me.
Why does he need the Vaseline? He can't get it up. He obviously doesn't need help because if he's stabbing someone, it just comes out.
I don't know. It
It's
was
not
never
the most
explained.
important question, but
But it's interesting. I thought
yeah.
the same thing. I was like, what is he using that for? That doesn't make sense. What is he looping up? It doesn't make sense. It generally does not make any sense whatsoever. Anyway, they found out that he was under investigation for theft by the previous employer, which gave them some type of legal right to hold him for a prolonged period of time.
yeah.
Loopholes. Gotta love him. Now, Andrei's dubious background was uncovered, and the physical description matched the description of a man seen walking alongside one of the victims, Dmitry, and a sample of Andrei's blood was taken. The result revealed that he was of the blood type A, whereas the semen samples that were found on the murder victims by the medical examiners upon coronary lookup thing
Yeah.
showed that the semen blood type was AB. So, while he may have made it finally into this index, the card index, they were kind of removing him as a potential suspect because of DNA. And I don't mean DNA in the sense that we look at it today, but because of the blood type not matching. So they're like, well, couldn't have been him, but we'll keep an eye on him. But it's probably discounted at this point. It's probably not him. On the 8th of October, 1984, the head of the Russian Public Prosecutor's Office now confirmed that 23 of the murders were linked and consolidated them all into the same investigation. And then it was at this point that all of the charges against the mentally disabled boys had been dropped. So they're still thinking that it's these mentally disabled kids that did this stuff.
Did you say before they checked his employment?
They checked, well, no. So they knew about that one because it was actually filed with the police. So that one was on file.
Yeah.
The ones of sexual misconduct were never on file. So Andrei was eventually found guilty, right, of theft of the property for the previous employer. And his membership to the Communist Party was revoked. I don't know what that means, but eat shit. And he was sentenced to 1 year in prison. But as always happens in every single fucking case we do, he was released after 3 months. Released after 3 months. He only served 3 months of a 12-month sentence for stealing linoleum. Okay, here's the thing. Here's what fucks me up. These detectives were actively investigating murder cases from a serial killer, right? During this time of his imprisonment, 3 months, no bodies show up.
Nah, it's not him.
Upon his release in December of 1984, he found new work at a supply department at a locomotive factory in Novocherkassk, and he kept a low profile. He did not kill anyone again until August of 1985, which happened when he was on a business trip. Yeah. Oh, these business trips is travel, baby. Travel.
I'm sorry. I'm so mad. I can't even.
That's okay. That's all right. The investigators hypothesized that this killer had traveled to Rostov Oblast to Moscow by air. So what they did is they checked all of the flight records of the passengers who commuted between these two locations during the date of July and early August. Being the eternal fucking idiots that they are, and the ones that we love, they didn't check people who traveled by train. They were just hell-bent. They were hell-bent on believing this person traveled by air.
This is what happens when you hyper-focus on a fucking area where you're incorrect instead of opening your
That part. Yeah.
I'm very angry.
What if I get
I'm
it?
very angry.
Get it. In November of 1985, a special prosecutor, Isa Kostoyev, was appointed to supervise the investigation, which had now grown to include 15 prosecutors, which is actually quite a lot if you think about it, and 29 detectives. So, what?
It's just like, how many fucking detectives does it take to solve a fucking case?
I wonder how many of them it would take to screw in a light bulb.
How fucking embarrassing. Like, I would quit the force.
Agreed.
Hand in my badge.
See?
Like, in cases like this, where's the accountability? You're here to protect and serve. If you can't fucking do your job, fuck off.
But in saying that, this is probably the first time they actually used some of their brain with when Issa came into the whole image, the whole picture, the whole whatever. So what they had decided to do was reinvestigate the murders, which I think is good. You're kind of taking a look at the things that you've kind of filed away because maybe
Fresh
we've
eyes.
missed something.
Yeah.
And they began like another round of questioning known sex offenders and homosexuals. The following month, the Russian police force resumed patrolling railway stations around Rostov, and undercover female officers were ordered to loiter around bus and train stations, just in the hopes that someone might come and pick them up. And
Okay, that's...
they're trying now.
Yeah,
Things
okay.
are happening now, which is why I think Issa was a good idea. They can drop the whole fucking gay thing off the table. They're a little bit focused on that, but the rest of it, they're doing stuff.
They're using women.
For a gay man?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, not smart.
Yeah. The gay man will like the woman.
Her clothes, maybe. Love your hair, sis.
Love your shoes.
Let me stab you.
Yeah. stab.
Doesn't make
stab
sense.
Stab.
And what was actually kind of cool is that the police also started consulting with a psychiatrist because one of the head people had actually said, hey, it's probably a good idea to do that. So they would end up talking to Dr. Alexander Bukanovsky, and all the crime scene and medical examiner's reports and all that kind of stuff were actually given to him upon the understanding that he would produce a psychological profile on the unknown murderer for investigators. And this profile is actually quite interesting. And I think it was such a good idea that they did this. Anyway,
Yeah. I was like, here we go, guys.
so what they discovered from everything that they saw in the crime and all of that kind of stuff was that it was a reclusive man between 45 to 50 years old, that he had an isolated childhood, that he couldn't flirt or court women, that he was well educated and likely to be married, that he would have had children, but that he was a sadist who suffered from impotence and could only achieve sexual arousal and release upon seeing his victims suffer. They went on to say that the murders themselves were an analog to the sexual intercourse this individual was incapable of performing, and his knife became a substitute for his penis that failed to function normally. He also said that he was likely to travel often, and based on the actual days of the week when the killings had occurred, that the killer most likely was tied to a production schedule. So everything that this person had said was fucking bop on the nose.
He deserves a fucking medal. There you go, guys. Job done. Here you fucking go.
Yeah.
About fucking time.
That's what happens when you hire a professional.
Yeah. Fuck.
Fuck me. It would, like, I believe that the full psych profile or whatever would end up being like 65 pages worth of just things that are like, well, this tells me this, that tells me this. I believe XYZ.
Fucking glad they did that.
And if you've been paying attention, you would know that pretty much all of that was spot on. Like most serial killers, Andrei followed the news stories about his secret crimes. So he'd listen to the radio, he would go and buy newspapers, he would see the reports, he kept an eye on all of that kind of stuff because he was like, well, I also don't want to get caught, I want to know how much they know about me. And I think there's like a little bit of arrogance that some serial killers would have too, right? It's like, I'm getting away with all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, get off on, being...
I'm amazing. He lasted, get this, almost an entire year without killing someone. Almost an entire year, which proves that he can stop killing.
Yeah.
Anyway, no further victims were found in either Rostov or Moscow Oblast whose bodies bore like the signature traits that the other ones had.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that he didn't. It just meant that maybe he changed what he was doing and he wasn't doing it the same way anymore because he was trying to be sneaky. Now, investigators did tentatively link the murder of a 33-year-old woman who was found stabbed to death in the Myasnikovsky district of Rostov in July of 1986 to the investigation, although this was solely upon the basis that the killer's semen type matched that of the killer that they were seeking, that the victim had been stripped naked prior to her murder, and that she had been stabbed in excess of 20 times. The victim had not been disemboweled this time or otherwise mutilated, nor had she been seen near any mass transportation. And because of these discrepancies, many of the investigators expressed serious doubts as to whether or not this murder was actually committed by the same killer. So there are parts that they're like, this is a bit similar. That's kind of not similar. It doesn't really match the MO, but it was him. He was just doing things like slightly different again. In 1987, he would kill 3 more times. On each of these occasions, the murder took place while he was on a business trip far away from Rostov Oblast, and none of these murders were linked to the investigation at the time. In 1988, he killed another 3 people, the last for that year being in July, and it wouldn't be until the 28th of Feb 1989 that he'd kill again. Only a couple of his murders over the previous 2 years were linked to him. Other ones were potentially not his. They were his, but the investigators we've already established were shit.
Yeah.
But now with some resurfacing victims that were definitively linked to this particular case, and the fact that a majority of these victims' bodies had been discovered close to railway stations, the investigators assigned numerous plainclothes officers to film. So they had little spy cameras and stuff to discreetly film and photograph passengers on the trains throughout Rostov Oblast. Several trains were fitted with hidden cameras, so they were also putting them up in the actual trains themselves, which again, cool. But I mean, listen, at that time, I can't imagine those were little cameras. So how secret were these?
Whoa.
Big black box in the corner.
What is that?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Never
Do not
seen
look.
before.
Yeah.
Not suspicious at all. And those cameras were obviously put up with the intention of filming and taking photos of victims in the company of the potential murderer, because obviously they didn't know who the murderer was at the time. And on January 14th, 1990, he would strike again and again on the 7th of March. And there would be, I believe, at least one more murder that happens in 1990. So on November 6, 1990, he killed and mutilated a 22-year-old woman who was returning to the railway platform. He was observed by an undercover officer named Igor Rybakov, who observed him approach this well of water and wash his hands and his face, which seems a little bit strange to me, but maybe it was normal, common practice, I don't know. When he had approached the station, Rybakov also noticed that Andrei's coat had like grass and soil stains on the elbows. He also saw a red smear on his cheek and what appeared to be a severe wound on one of his fingers. He looked suspicious, basically. Also the fact that the only reason people entered the woodland near this particular area was, especially during this time of the season, was to collect like mushrooms. But he was dressed quite smartly and he did not have any mushrooms. So it was...
What you doing?
Yeah, it was kind of weird, but he also didn't have a reason to confront or arrest Andrei at this particular time. So he basically just took down a report and then gave it back when he got to the office. But I believe that he did at least have a chat with Andrei. So he had his name and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So then he was able to pass that information on. So they're able to see that.
I was about to say, if he just goes, man suspicious coming out of forest.
He's fine.
Better note that down.
Yeah, very suspicious.
Yeah. Fucking hell.
It would be another 7 days before the body of the last victim was actually found. So I don't know why they wouldn't have gone back and had a look around to be like, well, we saw this and it was like a little bit concerning.
Yeah,
Anyway,
search. Hello.
search the surrounding area. Police summoned the officer who was in charge of the surveillance at that station and examined the reports of all men that were stopped and questioned the previous week. And not only was Andrei's name among those reports, but it was also familiar to several officers who were involved in this whole case because he was questioned in 1994 and had been placed on the suspect list that was compiled and distributed throughout the Soviet Union in 1987. After checking with his present and previous employers, the investigators were able to place him in various towns and cities when several victims linked to the investigations had actually been murdered. And the questioning of the previous colleagues from, his teaching days and stuff revealed that he had been forced to resign from at least 2 teaching positions due to repeated complaints of lewd behavior and sexual assault made by his pupils.
These fucking idiots.
I know, it's crazy. All of that could have
Like, what's the word?
due diligence?
That's the word.
Due.
These fucking idiots.
Yeah, you're not wrong. They placed him under surveillance on the 14th of November. So they would see him go and try to chat people up, like kids or women or whatever. And if that person was not receptive to his chit chat and were like, no, I don't want to talk to you, he would kind of go silent for like a couple minutes and then just wander off on the train or the bus and find someone else and try to start up a conversation with them as well.
Yeah.
Because this apparently was his technique. A lot of the times he was with the kids, at least, he was chatting with them on the buses and trains and escorting them off the trains in front of people and then taking them to do the nasty things that he did with them. So after about 6 days, I believe, of grueling surveillance, he left his house with a large jar of beer. When I was reading that originally, large jar of what?
What?
I was like, was it heads? Was there a penis in there?
Bodies.
Beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking beer in a jar. And he was walking through a local park and he was wandering around attempting to chat up children along the way. And he would end up stopping in at a cafe. I don't know what it was, a BYO. I don't know. He just has beer. I don't get it. But when he left the cafe, the police arrested him.
So, gonna put him on surveillance for 6 days. Walks out with beer in a jar.
At a cafe. Arrested.
Boom.
Yeah.
I want to I hope someone lined up all these officers and just fucking dunked them all together in the fucking head.
It's like the Three Stooges
yes,
slap. Just
fucking a line of slapping them all. Fuck me.
Now, while pretty much everything lined up, there was still one issue that they were having. Do you know what the issue was?
They're incompetent.
There are still 2 issues they were having. Do you know what the other one was?
Evidence.
It was based on evidence, however, specific evidence relating to blood types. So the issue they had was that they had a sample of his blood, and he was a type A. They had samples of semen from the crime scenes, which was a blood type AB. So they had to think long and hard, or not so hard in this case. They got a semen sample from him.
Yeah.
And it turns out that his semen blood type is AB.
Escandalo.
I know he's one of the rare few that actually have a different blood type that comes out in their sexual fluids than in his actual body.
Which is what I was going to ask, because I was like, is that normal?
It's not like abnormal, it's just rare. Like it happens,
Yeah.
but it's not like...
Yeah, that's weird. But also, why didn't they do that earlier?
I genuinely don't know. I think based on the lack of
Brains?
technical, that too, but of technical prowess,
Yeah.
of technical ability or know-how, they would have just assumed that the sexual fluid, because in general it does,
Yeah.
has the same type or blood type or traces of blood in it as your blood. But I mean, a cum sample, sorry to be vulgar, but that would have really just been like, oh, because they were checking semen, they weren't checking blood.
Or could they maybe have spoken to a professional to maybe get a bit more info? Like, hey, is it possible that he could have different semen blood type?
Well, the blood type was provided to the investigators by medical professionals.
Okay.
It was the medical examiners that said his blood type is this.
Oh, so they didn't even say it is possible that... okay.
They said, it is this. That does not match.
Yeah.
So he's done all this kind of stuff. He's evaded, he's murdered, he's eaten people, he's had sex with dead people. He's done lots of kind of dirty, nasty things, right? So you think, all right, he's going to be a tough cookie to break. No. They got a confession out of him pretty easily. They showed him this 65-page psychiatric novel that was written on him. And it was literally within about 2 hours of reading that he burst into tears and was like, I'm ready to talk.
Oh, God.
He would have to undergo a psychiatric evaluation at the Serbsky Institute in Moscow on the 20th of August 1991. And it took about 60 days. So this was like an in-depth, like, we gonna study the fuck out of you. We need to know.
About time.
Are you fucked up? Yes or no? Tick the box.
Yes.
No, normal. They concluded that while he has borderline personality disorder with sadistic features, he was otherwise fit to stand trial. So no diminished responsibility nonsense this time, motherfucker.
Good.
So Andrei would be brought to trial in Rostov on the 14th of November 1992, and he was charged with 53 counts of murder in addition to 5 charges of sexual assault against minors. Those ones were the ones he committed when he was a teacher.
Yeah.
There would have been more.
Yeah.
And his team tried a bunch of shit, like including getting another psychiatric evaluation because they were claiming that one was obtained under duress.
Fuck off.
Exactly. And that's also what the judge said. That was denied. He threw a tanty, but the worst kind. Because you know how there's like the tanty where you kick and scream and then it kind of feels like it's okay to like boot them in the head?
Yeah.
He didn't do that kind of tanty. He did the cold shoulder silent treatment and went mute for 3 days.
I'm not talking to you.
He wouldn't answer the judge when they spoke to him. He wouldn't answer the legal counsel. Like his reps, he didn't answer anyone. He just went silent.
Little bitch ass.
But on the 4th day, maybe it took him like 3 days to come up with what he was about to say to the judge. I don't know. I wasn't there. But he basically said to the judge, in no uncertain terms, that his presumption of innocence had been irredeemably violated by the judge and that he intended to give no further testimony.
No.
Boo-hoo. And then a day later, the trial would be adjourned for 2 weeks. Because he's annoying as fuck, he decides to withdraw his confessions, you know, the ones that he confessed to. And to make it worse, to stall the investigation, he then claimed that there were more murders that he just didn't cop up to beforehand. So at that point, it's kind of like, well, so what? Now they're going to have to stop and start again. They're going to have to go and find these other murders. They're going to have to get that information out of him, but he's not going to tell them anything. So, not going to lie, it's kind of smart.
Okay, if old mate died by a firing squad, just fucking kill this guy. Who gives a fuck? Piece of shit. Ugh.
Especially considering he had given testimony. He gave him testimony against himself for the things that he had done. And I'm pretty sure he had even mentioned things that weren't really released to the public. So there are things he knew. There's no way that he didn't do it.
But the semen.
Would anybody think about the semen?
What about the semen? Like, if
What
that
about
is
semen?
so rare. Oh, it just happened to some other guy. Like,
Sure, but if you actually take a look at... So that's not to say that there are no people out there that have the blood type AB.
yeah.
So his is rare specifically because he shares like a separate kind of blood with himself. So that had really no bearing on the murders themselves.
Yeah.
But just the fact that his semen type did match the semen that was there, that should have been like a...
Yeah.
At least for them. Considering they killed that other guy without a semen sample.
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly.
So basically, he was now throwing shit at a wall to see what would stick. On August 9th and 10th, closing arguments were given by both sides, and they penciled in a date for the final sentencing, which was to be on the 15th of September. And the judge was like, yeah, right, whatever, that's fine. It would end up getting postponed until October 14th. Now, the following day, so October 15th, 1992, Andrei Chikatilo was sentenced to death plus 86 years imprisonment. I don't know how that works. Don't even ask me. Because that's how it was written everywhere. It was like death plus 86 years. Why couldn't it be... Well, he's not even going to be alive in 86 years anyway.
Yeah. You were condemned to
Your
die.
memory is condemned for 86 years after you die.
Yeah.
He tried to appeal this. Obviously, everyone tries to appeal. That's kind of normal. And between June and August 1993, he even filed for clemency with the president.
Fuck off.
He was like, please, President, please, it's not just. Release me. Release me. Release me from these chains. If you're still listening, this is a long fucking case, and I'm so sorry. But, I mean, people were asking for longer cases. So suck my ass.
It's a really good case, but fuck me.
I'm done.
To be fair, you pick someone that's like fucking 53.
It's too many.
You could go for 4.
I'm capping it at 10 next time.
6 and we're
10
done.
or less. It's too much. It's fucking too much. So he filed for clemency with the president, and the president said, "Yet," and he didn't do it. Now, on the 14th of February, 1994, Andrei Chikatilo was taken from a cell in Novocherkassk prison to a soundproof room where he was executed by a single gunshot behind his ear.
Oh, I don't know. When someone's just that sadistic, like I know it sounds bad, but it's just like one gunshot behind the head.
I would be... I would walk around with a hard dick and be like, what's this?
I'm going to shoot you.
Helicopter. I'm going to shoot you while
This
I've got a
is
hard on.
Pull the trigger.
Yeah. Bop. Bam. Anyway, he would be buried in an unmarked, unnamed grave in the prison cemetery. And that is the fucking story of today. And I'm done and I've had enough.
Thank you so much, Emma, for suggesting this episode. Like, I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
And you better fucking still be listening at this point, too. Jesus Christ. Too much.
If you want to be amazing like Emma and suggest a case, let us know what you want covered next.
But don't pick something like that. Pick something like, yes, it was interesting. Yes, there's a lot of information there. Yes, they fucking screwed up the whole investigation. But, like, let's not repeat that. Let's not do another one of those.
I think we're broken for a little bit. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.